Hello. We're going to continue looking at the runes today. And you might recall from the previous video, though it was quite some time ago, that I was talking about how the runes are a system of divination, but that means that they're also a symbolic system, a symbol of understanding symbolism. And they're a system that's based, like all divination systems, on an understanding of time. In the case of the runes, they're also based on the concept of language and the importance of language, of the word, of letters, which were a very powerful kind of magic. You have to understand, it's very difficult from our perspective to grasp just how significant language, and especially the written word, can really be, because we've had it for so long and it's a part of our spiritual evolution at this point. But the moment where you could take a concept or an idea and turn it into an object, not even a painting, not even a picture, but something that was abstract, and then give it to somebody else who also understood this, and they could grasp that concept too. This was a very, very powerful thing. It was revolutionary. There are only certain stages in human evolution where this kind of breakthrough happens. One was the development of coherent language itself. And then the next one, the next great discovery in the growth of human consciousness, was when we were able to create the written language, the written word. And so the runes, some of the symbols on the runes are some of the most ancient symbols that we have of that sort. Before they were Viking symbols or Germanic symbols, before they were used by pagans in Northern Europe in the late 6th or 7th century. Some of those same symbols, which they derived through the Etruscan alphabet or through the Greek alphabet or some of these Southern European alphabets, were also, if you go back far enough, you can see some of those exact same pictograms in Neolithic caves, in caves that date back 17,000 years. So this is a very deep part of our human consciousness. And they have to do with time and the flow of time. But beyond that, they also each have a specific symbolic meaning, an initiatory symbolic meaning that if we understand the power of that symbol, it allows us to make change happen in the world. It allows us to do things. So the ancient runic poems would talk about this. They would say, there's such symbol, that with this symbol I can do these things. And it was couched in the language of magic, but it's also really about the ability to transform consciousness. Today, I just want to give a quick overview of the runic alphabet as a whole. And the runic alphabet I'm using is not the only one that existed, because of course, we're talking about something that spanned across centuries, if not millennia, and that it was found in different cultures. So there were a number of different alphabets that ended up being used by different tribes. But the one that is the oldest complete one, the one that was the most complete as a symbolic alphabet, it is what's called the Elder Futhark, and it has 24 runes. And I've written them down here for people to see. There we go. This is the Elder Futhark, written in order. And the reason it's called the Futhark is because that's not what they called it, that's what we call it, but it's because the first 6 letters make that word, right? You have Fehu, that's Futhar, and K, right? So that's Futhark. And you'll see I've written these 24 runes in 3 sets of 8 letters. The letter 8 was the number 8 was extremely important in ancient European pagan thought. And so was the number 3, was even more important. So the 24 runes are divided into what were called eights, or eights, sets of 8. And there's 3 of them. And this is not just a random separation. And it's actually reflective that each one of the 3 eights have a kind of a theme. The particular runes in that eight talk about a particular process or a particular theme. You might remember, if you watched my tarot videos, that in the major arcana, you have a similar thing going on, where the first third of the major arcana talk about one set of processes, the second third about another, and the last third about yet another, each representing successively more significant stages in personal transformation. Well, there's something similar to that in the runic eights. The first eight, which begins with the letter Fehu, the letter that it literally means cattle, but it's also about a rising magical force. It deals with inner magic. All of you are going to find in the videos that these different runes from the first eight have to do with personal power, personal magic. The second eight, which begins with Hagalaz, which means hail, as in a hailstorm, has to do with nature, you could say, with primal forces. And the third, which begins with Tewaz, or Tyr, the Tyr rune, the spear, has to do with archetypal forces, with these cosmic forces. So the first eight has to do with an understanding or a development of one's own being. The second one with an understanding of nature and these powerful nature forces. And the third one has to do with a kind of a cosmic perspective on these archetypal forces, on these vaster and more sophisticated concepts. And they don't strictly go on a progressive level the way that you might have seen the tarot, the major arcana of the tarot are talking about a journey of self-transformation from start to finish, right? But then, of course, the major arcana doesn't just do that either. It also goes in a cycle. It also is talking about actually a wheel. And very much so, the runes are doing the same thing, because all things emerge from the well of Weird and descend back into it and continue in this process. So it's not in the runic eights. It's even less of a progressive concept than what you will see in the Tarot of the Major Arcana. That's one important difference. You'll see, though, that every one of the runes has many different layers of meaning and understanding, and they reflect different levels of power, different levels of awareness. And in any case, as I'm going through in this series, I'm going to talk about each rune individually, and then I'm also going to talk a bit more about some of the cosmic implications of the runes, and about how the runes combine with one another, how they work as a process. And finally, I'm going to give some advice about how to use the runes in both a practical way for the study of symbolism, and in a practical way for doing oracular work, I guess you could say, for doing divination with them. So I hope you stay in touch and keep watching. The rune videos are going to be kind of interspersed with the Bhagavad Gita videos, but I hope you'll have the patience to wait for each installment. Thank you.